What up, YouTube Live? How's it going, everybody? How's it going? Uh, let's see. Right now, it's Thursday morning, past midnight. And of course, you know what that means. It's time for another round of talk of the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery. God, I love this show. Okay, let me make sure real quick that that we are on live. Let me see here. I think I can usually watch it. Yes, we are live. Got it. All right. Today's episode is season 3, episode 8. And as always, with my reviews of episodes that already aired, this too contains spoilers. So heads up, spoiler alert. This review is mainly for those of you, my fellow Star Trek Discovery fans, who've also already watched today's episode. The title is The Sanctuary, and it has our characters, our heroes, protagonists, going to Book's home planet. But before I get to talking about that, let's discuss Saru's effort in trying to come up with his own catchphrase. Alright? At first he begins with, let me see here. I think the choice was execute. Execute. He's on the bridge and he's like, execute. And then the whole crew kind of looked at him weird, like, that doesn't roll off nicely, off your tongue there. It's like, that sounds kind of cheesy. Come on, Saru, you can do better than that. And then later on today's episode, he said, what did he say? I think he said, come away. Oh, it's even cheesier than execute. Look, real quick on that note. I know that Captain Jean-Luc Picard of my favorite Star Trek show, The Next Generation, Picard had already, had already set the bar for catchphrase really high, man. I mean, you can't go any better than engage, make it so. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's classic. Like, so much so that everybody wants to use that, I don't remember the other captains, what their catchphrases are. If you are fans of Voyager or Deep Space Nine, you could probably tell me. But, it can't beat, none of them can beat engage and make it so. So when Saru, it's a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, it's the writer's way of kind of paying homage to Picard. I mean, when he tries with execute and the other one is come away or whatever it was, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like not just Saru, but it doesn't sound like what any captain should utter at all. Maybe he would be better off just kind of steal Picard's catchphrase, and I'm sure Picard would kind of consider that as a compliment anyway. If anybody uses his style, he's not gonna be pissed about it. So yeah, let's start on that, and then we get to the next arc. Before we get to talking about Book, I want to discuss real quick about Adira and Stamets. They are a really good team. And they found on this episode sort of like the point of origin of the burn that turned out to be a distress signal or a distress sound from a stranded ship. They use coded signal, so it's one of those cases. But there's a moment on this episode, like right in the middle of it, right after they found that point of origin of the burn, where Adira tells Stamets, hey, my pronoun is they and them. I never identify myself as she, because Stamets kind of, unintentionally, mistakenly kind of call her a she. And so Adira corrected him, and Stamets said, after listening to Adira, the explanation for why the pronoun is they, Stamets just basically said, okay. All right. Duly noted. It's all good. I mean, I respect that. And I think that's important, that very brief moment, because we talked this week about Ellen Page coming out as trans, and her new name is Elliot. A lot of people have a hard time, especially on Twitter. You know how Twitter folks are. Hard time adjusting to that. While a lot of us, applaud her, of course. And I guess what I'm getting at is, I think it's important, or it would be nice if we could adopt the attitude and the approach of Stamets on this episode. So when somebody tells you that their pronoun is this, don't respond by being defensive about it, by saying like, oh, are you one of those? Are you one of, oh no, I have to keep up with you too, or something like that. Don't respond by that, just say, okay, like Stamets did, okay. if that's what you would like to refer yourself as, then fine by me. See, and then that's it, and then we can move on to the next to the topic at hand. I mean, isn't that simple when you don't have to make a big deal out of it? It's like, Ellen wants to be called Elliot now. And then we'll just pull a Stamets card and say, okay. Fine by me. Whatever makes you happy. You do you, boo. So that's the right attitude. I think I know a lot of people who, and I'm not one of those people who are gung-ho about woke culture or SJW. I disagree with whenever SJW tries to cancel a joke or cancel a comedy. I was like, come on, it's just a joke, lighten up. But in cases like this, there's nothing to do with comedy. If people want to be, or if people want to identify themselves as something or the other, and we got to learn to respect that and acknowledge their their what's the word I'm looking for here, their current newfound and current happiness, their current genuine comfort in who they are. So we have to acknowledge that. And so I think if you don't have any, or if you're not able to wrap your head about Elliot or pronouns, doesn't mean that you're in the wrong. Maybe your heart could be in the right place. Maybe just that your head hasn't caught up to your heart yet, and that's okay. Maybe you just need some time to catch up. But if we just adopt Stamets' attitude and say, okay, simple as that, we don't have to make a big deal out of it, and then we can just go on with the task at hand. I want to comment real quick before we get to Philippa. Regarding Detmer. Detmer had a moment on this episode, and I tweeted about it because I loved it. Oh my god, Detmer was so awesome on this episode. She's the pilot, right? She's the navigator, and not the navigator. I think that's that's the other person on the bridge. But she's a pilot, and she's a badass one, and my god, that was some cool scene that the writers gave her. And the actress name is Emily Coates, I believe, and she's hot. I mean it, man, in a genuine way. She is attractive. I like Detmer. My favorite character is still Philippa. Don't get me wrong, especially tonight's episode. Philippa was just so feisty and spicy, and just the way I like her. But Detmer stole the scene on tonight's episode. She was just so badass with Ren on I think it was Bookship, right? It was Bookship, and they were like going, maneuvering, going upside down, just firing all over. It's just so hardcore. And yeah, Detmer, actress Emily Coates, is now my second favorite character on this show, next to Philippa. And I don't know if Emily Coates is single. I should probably hit her up. So anyway, just want to give applause to Detmer. Shout out. I love it. Hot. And then so we'll get to Philippa, and then we'll end on book. Philippa, my favorite character. So the episode starts out with Dr. Hugh kind of going toe to toe with Philippa, and Philippa. See, that's the thing. Philippa may be intimidating, but if you put your foot down, she recognizes that. She recognizes strength. She recognizes, firmness. So if you come at her being all nervous, not being able to put sentences together, kind of like how Tilly is sometimes, then Philippa will eat you alive if you come at her in that manner. But Dr. Hugh plays his card right. You gotta approach strength with strength. And so Philippa's like, fine, whatever, let's do this thing, let's do this treatment, put me under or whatever. Like, because Dr. Hugh doesn't back down. he actually pushes back, and Philippa's like, fine, whatever. But we're still just getting glimpses of Philippa's past. It's still bits and pieces. It's not the whole picture. It's still a tease. It's not the main arc of today's episode. The main arc was book. So, it's still flashes, man. Even as she tries to kind of outsmart Dr. Hugh, which you cannot do because Dr. Hugh is freaking smart. But we, the audiences, still don't know yet this mystery surrounding Philippa that the writers have for her in this season. It looks like it traumatized her, it really, and it's the kind of PTSD that just comes by when she expects it the least. And so we want to know more. But her attitude, man, in today's episode reminds me why I love this character. I mean, what did she say? She, I think Dr. Hugh noticed that Philippa's heart rate was acting strange, and then Philippa said, "No, that's just rage." Oh man! And you know what? When she was under, it looks like the unlocking of Philippa's memories. It looks like a painful process. I mean, like, oh man, I would hate to go through that. She's all like glitching and whatnot. It's like, oh, dude. Even I watching on my laptop, I'd be like, oh, I was cringing. That looks so painful. So yeah, hopefully we'll get to actually see more of what happened with Philippa, or Philippa's past, or Philippa's trauma in the subsequent episodes, instead of just flashes. It's been flashes for the past 3 episodes now. All we get are flashes. So hopefully it'll be more than that, or more revelations of that going down the road. All right, so let's end on book. And I don't have strong opinions about this, the main arc of today's episode. Book going home to his planet, and the villain, she's an Orion named Osira. By the way, Osira is scary. Holy crap! I would not want to meet that woman. And she looks like she could come back with a vengeance. Man, oh man. I would not want to cross paths with her. And then the whole thing with Rain, I think the moment that Rain actually gets to be in the sun, so to speak, is when he shared his moments with Detmer. You know, when Detmer was being badass as a pilot. So yeah, I don't really have strong opinions about this. I mean, it's just another detour, another stop. You know, it's like, I guess we get to know a little bit more about Book's planet, and Book's. Oh, look at that! The flying creatures that's supposed to be in the ocean or whatever it is. Like, it's just like, all right, fine. And then like, oh, an old friend, a foe, and now they become friends again. It's just an arc that is fine, but I don't have much strong connection with it, as opposed to how I feel about Philippa or Detmer, you know, in this episode, or Adira and Stamets, if you know, with that. So, yeah, it's a filler episode regarding Book. It's cool that we have a villain like Osira, and I hope she is a recurring role. I would like to see more of her wreaking havoc, like really wreaking havoc. I think tonight we get a little glimpse of that. But I like her. I like a good villain, right? I mean, a hero is only as good as the bad guy, as they say. So I think Osira is a very formidable foe, and I would love to see more of her. So yeah, that's it. Those are all the. One side note. I just want to say that scene where Adira and Stamets checking out the sound signal, you know, the coded signal underneath the music. You know what that kind of reminds me of? You know, because they were like trying to, because Saru, Tilly, and Stamets and Adira, they were trying to figure out like, ooh, what is that sound underneath that? Like, let's find the most subliminal sound, and let's locate it. And I don't know why, but that kind of reminds me of Star Trek 4 Voyage Home. When they were listening to the sound of the whales, and they at first I think they couldn't figure out like, what is that? A distress signal? Like, what's calling to us? For whatever reason, I don't know why, it reminds me of that. It recalls me to one of my favorite Star Trek movies, but I haven't seen that one in a long while. The last time I saw Star Trek 4 I was a little kid, but yeah, it was about whales or whatnot. So that scene took me back on today's episode. It just, you know, brought back good memories. Just want to share that with you. And so that's it. Those are the thoughts that I have about today's season 3 episode 8, titled The Sanctuary. Please, the writers of Star Trek Discovery, make, you know, the next episodes to come will be more about Philippa. Book is fine, but Book is not, you know, he's not the series regular, you know, he just like comes and goes. So, you know, let's get back to the key characters at hand, you know, the ones that really matter. So that's it. Share. Do you agree or disagree with my assessment today? And what did you think about today's episode? Do you have questions or theories or comments about them? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, subscribe. And The Mandalorian is tomorrow, so come back again, okay? And we'll chat. Let's rock this.